black in the City of London.
14 dead and nothing said. 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 18th January, Sunday morning, 1981. 14 young people died in a fire while they were having fun.
Many years ago, I got the opportunity to cover the unveiling of a plaque to commemorate the New Cross fire and those affected by it. It was a cathartic and important event that felt like a real stepping stone. In talking to survivors and their families, I began to get some sense of the pain and struggles they faced. So the New Cross Fire Foundation is a community interest company founded by family members of those who tragically lost their lives and survivors of the devastating New Cross fire incident in 1981. This event had a profound impact on the Black Caribbean communities in London, causing immense grief and trauma. Unfortunately, during that time, there was a lack of support to help individuals to overcome these challenges. The survivors of the fire were young, with an average age of 15, and were just embarking on their exams. As a result, they faced negative socio-economic outcomes in areas such as employment, finance, physical health, and mental health. It's been nearly half a century since the New Cross fire occurred, yet its detrimental effects are still felt by communities spanning 5 generations. NCFF is dedicated to ensuring that the Black Caribbean community receives the support it deserves, provided by individuals who can directly relate to their experiences. Their aim is to tailor assistance to people's specific needs, helping them to overcome barriers they face and foster positive change. So I'm joined by Gary Collins and Pat Warmington from the New Cross Fire Foundation. Good evening to you both.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening.
Thanks for having us.
And let's just get straight into it. So for those that don't know, what are the goals of the NCFF?
We are going to shine a light on all of the traumatization that we've all gone through. Bear in mind, I'm the brother of one of the victims, Steve Collins, as well. So it's been a long time coming that we had to kind of shine a light on all of those clouds that we've gone through. The vision is to kind of keep it in the public sphere.
What I noticed as well is there's an intergenerational aspect to it. So when I saw that Nubian Jack was commemorating the event in 2011, I saw the activities that your father was carrying out, and seeing there's an intergenerational continuity. Is that part of your work, or is that important in how you approach things?
I think legacy is a must. I mean, for something so traumatic and so important in Black UK's history, I think legacy is a must, that we have to continue the work of our forefathers, because if we don't, there's no one else that's going to do it. And it's, I mean, I was 10 at the time. I'm 55 now. So we're carrying a lot of weight on our shoulders. And I think the main thing is to highlight the history.
Well, if it's any consolation, I remember speaking to, I think it was Janine Ruddock, interviewing her about her experience of having gone to school at Addie Stanhope across the way, and them not covering the event. A school that's a stone's throw away from the scene of it, and that shocked me. But in 2020, post 2020, it seems like, at least in education, I can vouch for a lot of the schools in Lewisham are coming together and doing their bit, or reaching out or trying to find out more. So maybe there's some progress there.
You know, when we formed the organisation, it was really to provide activities that would benefit primarily the BAME communities, the Black communities, and in particular those living in areas of high deprivation, those affected by national disparities, those suffering from mental health issues, and the most disadvantaged and the hardest to help. I actually attended Adi and Stanhope, hence why I was at the party, because I attended with my school friend Yvonne Roddick, who sadly died as a result of the fire. So I'm aware that it's been certainly since we started the New Cross Fire Foundation, and even before, that Adi and Stanhope does participate in activities related to the New Cross Fire. So one of our goals is to go into schools. We have an education program, so we will go into schools in the London Revolution and give them a view from a survivor's perspective. Possibly do some intergenerational work as well, because we're the grandparents now. I'm 60, so grandparents going on to great grandparents. So we think that we might be able to offer some insight and some healing so that we can heal our communities.
So I guess that brings me to my next question. How does the trust balance commemorating the past with looking forward?
It's not been an easy ride for the foundation for us to kind of set up. Even though, yes, my brother died in it and Patricia was there and Wayne Haynes got injuries and all of that stuff, people still didn't trust us as in to kind of carry out these duties, because they thought, I think they think, and this is something that is great that we can kind of express to everybody what we are doing, is highlighting not just the injustices, but those who survived, those who died, to make sure that they will never be forgotten. It's never been my passion to fight for the injustice. You know, I've seen my family absolutely blitzed. You know, my family, my mum and dad split up. My dad had mental health issues. I had mental health issues growing up. You know, and it's been a very long journey. So when I'm talking about balancing it, this is the balance. You know, there's pain, and, and there's remembrance, and keeping it relevant for others to understand the injustice of what everybody went through. You know, so that's the balance in my eyes, you know, because there's a lot of people who do not understand what the NCFF is about. And I'm just going to highlight a few things that we have done since we've started, you know.
The first thing that we had to do in terms of balance, again, let me just have a prelude to it. Thank you, Gary. Absolutely right. You know, when we first were introduced on the scene, nobody saw us coming. As Gary was saying, you know, that many of us that are survivors have suffered really terribly over the years, Jonathan. I can't even explain to you what that's like. You know, it's like, well, we were 15, coming to an impressionable times in our lives, you know, meant to do exams and all those. And I went to Adi and Stanhope, which was a grammar school, you know, which I don't know if you know, but the parents, if you got into a grammar school, the high expectations. I was only one of like 7 black girls in my year. So that I'm just explaining what the school looked like then. There was a group that was set up from the parents of the victims that lost their lives. And of course, Sir Collins, Gary's father, was doing some incredible work out there. But what they did is they forgot about the kids. They forgot about the kids, the survivors, you know, that were there at the party. So there was a lot of trauma. So they didn't see us coming when the NCFF was formed in 2022. They couldn't believe that this group you know, had started, because there'd been many years where they've dealt with the parents of the victims, etc. So when we got together and started to look at what we wanted to do, as Gary said, we didn't really want to go down the justice side. Of course, we would like to know what happened, etc. But, you know, with going through two hearings, you know, one very early in 1981 and the other 1994, it took its toll out on us. You know, we were trying to get on our lives, and a lot of us, not are my age, or Gary's a little bit younger, but you know, there's a little bit older as well, and they're suffering as well. So we don't want to do that. But what we want to do is, an awakening. We want everyone to sort of wake up out of that dust that settled over our communities, and you know, really look at remembering, never forgetting the New Cross fire, but trying to remember it in a positive way that that actually can draw back to those days, which was really about community resilience. You know, the community really stuck together. You know, People's Day of Action, etc. You know, 10,000 people from all over. There was this real strength of community, but we've kind of lost our way now. And I believe that the activities and lack of activities after the New Cross fire has a direct correlation on where we see some of our communities today. You know, we were meant to be building the next generation. Like I said, we were 16, so the absence of that tier must have done something to where we're at today. So, in the as Gary said, you know, we have gone through a lot. You know, we're a Black organisation. Scrutiny is like 150%. It's not, you know, and like I said, we just came out of nowhere, where the absence of this void for 40 odd years. So, I suppose, what was I saying? Yeah, so the first kind of work that we've been doing is public consultation, because we need to know if we're doing the right thing too, Jonathan. We don't claim the emotional sorrow and grief for the New Cross fire ourselves. We know that our communities have grieved over the years. In fact, that was one of the reasons why I sort of kept in a bubble, because every year on Facebook, as it came to January the 18th, I would just see New Cross fire, New Cross fire, New Cross fire. And for many years, I sort of hid. So what we want to do is, we can see that there's a public outpouring for some sort of resolve, some sort of platform to hear their voices. So that's what we're providing for them in the first instance. So we've been carrying out public engagement activities, mainly in London Revolution. We've carried out like pilot training workshops. That was in Hackney, and we've had other community engagement activities. For example, we work quite closely with London Fire Brigade. So we've been going to some of their activities and asking the question, what do you think that we need to do in terms of looking at the New Cross fire and the legacy?
Sorry, I just want to correct Pat on one thing. You said 1994, it's 2004, the second inquest was.
Jonathan, you know, with the second inquest, I was really getting on with my life, trying to hide in plain sight. When the police just knocked on my door, I didn't know how they got to know where I lived, etc. They just knocked on my door and brought it all back to me, you know, making me read my statements again and things like that. So they actually made me revert back to a 15-year-old. And I suffered with that for years. So when it comes to the inquest, yeah, I am a bit, it really took a toll on all concerned that attended.
And as you can see, it is a traumatic experience to everybody that was involved in the tragedy, you know. But as we said, we haven't just done public engagements as well as we've done the families. We've engaged with all the families because there was a time when nobody knew what was going on within the New Cross Fire. So it's basically us trying to build a narrative of somewhere that everybody should understand and know what's going on around the New Cross Fire. So when there's a memorial service, there would be years gone past. I don't get nobody tells me about the memorial service. You know, is it on? Is it off? Is it? I mean, what time is it? What this and that? And this was a common thread throughout the families and all of that stuff. So we reached out to all the families. Some of the families were acceptive of us and support us and all that. Some of them don't. You know, but within time, there's additional family members who didn't like us back then, but then they like us now, and they're starting to move with us and understand that we're all getting old. If we don't do it in this generation, who the hell's going to do it? Because, you know, as I said, I was only 10, you know, and I'm pushing forward with the foundation to try and make sure that there is something there for my grandkids to see, their grandkids to see. It's about UK history. It's about Black UK history, not even Black UK history, UK history. We kind of got involved 3.5 years ago with a memorial service. When the older generation was around, it was like songs of praise. And I just found it unacceptable for a Black tragedy to be, I know it's religious stuff and all that, Christians and all of that stuff, but to be portrayed in that manner, you know, as the clergy, as a priest is standing up high and the Blacks are sitting down low, sort of thing. There's something that we needed to kind of change. So since we've changed, like since we've joined the foundation, we're an important part of that process of organizing the memorial. We've done it for the last 3 years because if you remember lockdown, I was going through the internet and I'm thinking, oh, okay, look, I think this is when the lockdown was just coming out. So I'm looking through and I said, oh, look, the memorial service is on Sunday, and it was Friday, you know, and that's the only time I found out. So I went there with my partner and all that. And when I went there, it was in Ladywell. What's that church in Ladywell, Pat?
St. Mary's Church.
It's a big old church. There was about 5 people there, or about 5 to 10 people there. It was cold as hell. The ceremony went for about 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and then it was all time to go. And I thought, and there was nothing on the news, nothing nowhere. And I'm saying to myself, this ain't right. This ain't right. So when we made this, when we done the foundation, we founded the foundation. We make sure we're a part of the institution. We're not just a CIC, we're an institution. You understand? So there's a different way how people kind of look at us. So we built this connection with Lewisham, especially the mayor of Lewisham, Brenda Dacus, and the previous mayor, I can't remember his name. So we built this kind of connection to kind of get into this, to create our own narrative now. You know, you've done it long enough. It's long time. That was 40 years then. So it was like, this is the 45th one sort of thing. So I said to them, you know what? First and foremost, we have to have a Black priest. We have to have a Black priest. You know, it's culturally correct for a tragedy like this to have a Black priest up there talking the way how we can communicate and how he can feel that, how he can feel our pain. You understand? That's connected. And then there was humming and hawing, and then we pushed. We said, yeah, okay, we've got the priests. We know, you know what I mean? People that come to our community engagements, they were priests, and they said, you know what, we'll be happy to come and do this for you guys. You know what I mean? So we got the priests. You know what I mean? And then we said to ourselves, okay, then how about if we get some Caribbean food at the end of it? You know what I mean? How about if everybody could come downstairs, have some food? That was humming and hawing. No, we can't have Caribbean food. What about the vegans? What about this? What about that? Now, you know, if anybody knows who I am, I don't take no for an answer, you know. So I'm pushing them. And obviously our community engagement guy is one of the biggest Caribbean restaurant chains coming up from a long time ago. He's him. So obviously we said, okay, then let's just see. They can't say no. Let's put you in contact with him because he does a lot of work for Lewisham as well. And they got food, you know. The hymns, Black hymns, you know. And since then, and if you look at since then it was like, okay then, well, there's quite a few people. Oh, the food's gonna do. Then the next year, wow, everything's packed out. Everyone's packed. It's all packed. And plus the advertising as well. We start building this up now from February, March. We start building it up and we can put it on to advertise and all of that stuff, you know? So the last 3 years has been fantastic. It's been, we need a new venue now because I think that venue was just packed out, people were standing in. And that's because of what the NCFF is doing. We're changing the narrative. We're creating the balance, as they say. It's not just all one-sided now. We're doing it for ourselves, you know? So for me, it shines a light. It makes me feel good. It makes the foundation, I believe, feel good that we can make the change. If we sit down and work with the powers to be, we can make this change. And we're not making a change for the worse. We're making a change for us, you know, because every year the narrative of the New Cross fire, you don't see it on the news, you don't see it on the radio, you don't see it in newspapers, you don't see it nowhere. But the last 3 years, they've been doing a little bit of TV here, a bit of TV there. And these are the things that we set out to achieve. We don't want them to be forgotten. And to find that balance is very tricky because the past was so chaotic, you know? It was so chaotic, but the future is so peaceful and smooth. And that's for me the balance, you know?
When it comes to giving the community a voice as well, Jonathan, you know that there are some that say what they think happened, right? There are some strong voices out there, and that is what they might be campaigning for as well. So I think that what we're trying to do in terms of rebuilding a community is hearing their voices, but having that dialogue, because there was more than one perceived outcome of what happened there that night. In fact, there were 3. So it's about having that dialogue, letting them say what they want to say, having the debates with them, and then finding a way to move on. A lot of voices want to be heard, and you know, and we have to provide that platform because as kids they weren't heard, were they? And so can you imagine as well, you know, just as much as those that were the victims of the fire and the survivors, they had a whole community of young people that did not have a voice. So that really, you know, falls on part of what we're going to do, and making them have their voice and having those debates and trying to heal.
That's such a wonderful aim because obviously you've been personally touched by this thing. And to have people who were touched by experiences around that time, there was the sort of context around it. And as you say, they might have their perception of what have happened. And you know where it comes from. You know it comes from a place of lived experience. And then for you guys to bring the platform and, as you say, have those conversations is really admirable. And I hope, you know, I wish you all the best in it. What sort of success have you had in finding partners in terms of organizations to support you or link with you? You said you're doing work with the fire brigade. Have there been other organizations that have linked up with you guys or have offered support?
Let me just say that we haven't asked anybody for financial assistance, all right? And then let me tell you the why, you know? Because the foundation for me is an organic thing. It's not something that we're just going to go bang, 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 give us some money, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this. It's a thing where we build ourselves up first, and then we will ask for the money once we've got our partners and once we've got a track record of what we are doing, you know? So let me just say to you who our kind of partners are in a roundabout way, who has supported us, which was, it took a long time coming, but Lewisham Council for the last year and a half, after the constant battering that we gave them, they kind of said, all right, when we have this next meeting, they're asking us for meetings now, so that's fantastic, you know. Lewisham Council, obviously we've got we do workshops for the London Fire Brigade as well, which is one of our partners. I would say Hackney Council as well, because Hackney Council believes in what we're doing and they've supported us in both of our stuff that we do over there, plus workshops as well. Obviously, we have a lot of people who's interested. I come from this organisation. We'd like to talk to you about this. We'd like to talk to you about that. but we're an institution. We don't want to look at it like we're too big out there, but we want to carry ourselves as in professional as we can be, you know, because there's not nobody that's come before us that's carried the New Cross fire, I don't believe, in the way how we are kind of addressing the issues that we have, you know. And I believe that it's very important to try and get funding from the national lotteries and all of that stuff. It's very important that we have stuff that we're doing, we have stuff that we're done, you know, to get anything for the future, you know. So as an institution, and a lot of people don't like that word institution. We're not an institution as in a sense of this is how we carry out our stuff. We're a community interest company, but we want to act like an institution. Our big brother's an institution, and there's going to knock down the doors for us to get through. And that's the whole point of how we kind of operate, and our partners and all of that stuff see us as this entity, you know.
You do like a wide range of work, primarily supporting Black and Caribbean and BAME people. So what kind of support would you like? I guess I'm putting that in the broadest terms, not necessarily what that's money. Like, what kind of engagement would you like? What would your best scenarios look like for the next couple of years?
In terms of what we need to do and hearing people's voices, it's really about communications and promotions, and it's about spreading the word of our activities. I'm just talking at the ground level community engagement, because if we can't reach them, then we can't hear their voices. We've done some work on our website. We want to do more. We're on social media, but it's about like and sharing. Don't want to sound like, you know, TikTok or Facebook, but it is about sharing the word that we're here, and, you know, signposting people to our website, which will have our activities listed on it.
You know what? It'd be lovely for people to donate and help us and support us. And as Patricia said, you know, I think it's about, as I said, the legacy of the New Cross fire. I think the more young people that we can kind of get onto this platform that we're kind of building, because yeah, I would like a young adult. Doesn't matter if it's a black or white. It doesn't care for me. You know, doesn't matter as long as they're a young adult. They know about the history, because there's a lot of people that's coming up to me and say, and they're all even on the Snapchats, because I do watch Snapchats and TikTok and all of that stuff. It'd be fantastic to get somebody that can do our PR work, you know, and if we can get some money to give to them, it'd be fantastic. But at the same time, our stuff still goes out, thousands of views and thousands of this, and you know, and we done a poll the other day because we're doing something for the London Museum. So we've created a 15-year exhibit in the new London Museum in Smithfields, and it opens up in 2026 for the New Cross Fire, which I think was a great and fantastic achievement for the whole of the foundation, you know, to have a 15-year exhibit. So when we're all old and grey, or we're not here no more, at least that's still going to be there. So I highlight the importance. So for me, it's not about, as I said, it's not about financial. It's about putting the word out there. It's about getting into the most places that the people don't know about it, and pushing that narrative of something that is not just negative. We just don't want this as negative, because everybody will see it as negative. Oh, the black people, them rioting in black fires afterwards, and yeah, they call them police. Because when you look at the Snapchat, they're calling them racist, and they're calling this that. We don't want all that stuff. It's so far gone out of my head, you know. Because yeah, I've cried so many tears. I can't cry no more. This is what the foundation. I can talk about my brother without crying and breaking down. I can talk about my brother's friends who died. I can talk about me going to the funerals and all that, and not break down and cry, because I've cried so many tears. So for me, it's about, let's do something that can highlight the positive. There was thousands that come together because of the injustice. That's a positive thing. Yeah, we push for the inquest, we push for this, we push for that. That's, to me, as positive as a black community, you know. It's not about finances. It's never been about finances. Otherwise, I would have left like the first 6 months. I've been here for nearly 3.5 years, not got paid. You know what I mean? So I'm just doing it on the back, you know. And same as Patricia, same as Richard, same as Wayne, same as Dr. John Price. You know, we're doing it for the I wouldn't say the love of it, but for the need of it. You know, the need is there. The need has to be done by people that has the lived experiences. You know, so financially, it's not about finances, but if anybody's got a couple of £1 million sitting around and they want to help out they want to help out the foundation, yeah, please. My name's Gary Collins at ncff.co.uk. Yeah.
So, you know, the London Fire Brigade consultation. Yeah, originally, Jonathan, what we were tasked to do was to get some feedback on some images for the London Museum. And we kind of had a conversation and, you know, talked about what we thought would be reasonable in terms of getting some feedback. So we said that, you know, maybe 200, 300, 500 even. Jonathan, there was 1,500 responses within a matter of weeks. And at the bottom, you know, you picked what image you wanted, but at the bottom you had your comments. So we've got lots and lots of comments that say that they need that it was just this outpour of grief and, you know, feelings and things like that. We were taken aback by the response. We kind of knew it was always there, but just to see it in real life, that was something which really gave us motivation to keep on doing what we're doing. Because yeah, we're not paid for doing this, you know, we're not. But we do have programs that may need some support. We need equipment to do some of the work that we need to do out there. We have to have balance, we have to have presence. It comes under communications again. And then with the education, we need to have materials and things like that. But there's a part of it that I would like to give back as well.
You mentioned your website. What's the website, and can people get involved through the website if they want to donate or volunteer or whatever?
It's ncff@.co.uk. It's got all the information, all the contact details for all the directors.
Can I say it again?
Say it as many times as you need.
It's www.ncff.co.uk.
Thank you two so much for sharing how you've turned your own experiences with this event into something positive, hopefully to leave lasting legacy for Black British community and for British community. It's British history, as you said. This is part of the story that made our country, and hopefully as many people as possible will understand it and understand how it shaped many things that we take for granted about our society today.
Thank you for having us, but I think we need a part 2 because there's so much more information that we haven't told you. But there's so much things that was going on behind the scenes. And I'm as I said, I'm proud of the team that we have around us. It's a small team, but we're mighty. We're small but mighty. You know, we every single angle is covered, and we're pushing to make sure that this stays in the school curriculum. It stays in history. It stays in the museums. It stays everywhere that people of any color can go and look at it, go and understand it, and try to work out and make it not happen ever again. You know.
Cool. Thank you, guys. I'm gonna hit the stop record.